Hi, I'm Lindsay Moore and welcome to my podcast, In Conversation with SMEs, or Seriously Motivated Entrepreneurs. Founder of Agnes Marketing, we enable professional services businesses to win more clients through strategic, organised and effective marketing. SMEs account for 99.9% of the total UK business population. They are the backbone of our economy, providing 60% of all private sector jobs and generating half of the turnover. And in these challenging times, we need them more than ever. So my aim through this podcast is to provide inspiration, motivation and energy to those looking to start, scale or pivot their business by hearing the stories of others who have been brave, followed their heart, kept their nerve and achieved something quite remarkable. Throughout the series, I'll be speaking to my favourite small businesses and acclaimed entrepreneurs and asking them about their highs, their lows, their wish I'd knowns and what single piece of advice they would give themselves now if they were starting out. In this episode, I speak to Megan Kimmance, who is co-founder of Red Run. Red Run burst onto the scene in 2020. They are an active leisure wear brand. Megan, during the course of this conversation, which I thoroughly enjoyed, talks about the young Megan at school, how she felt like she didn't really fit and she always knew she was creative. And it took her a while and for a number of people to, like teachers and lecturers, to really see her potential in her, for her to see her to see that herself. And hearing her talk so eloquently and authentically about what's driven her passion through her career, her love of fashion and creativity, but also her values and her beliefs in knowing what she wanted to deliver for a fashion brand, which was very different to anything that she'd experienced in the industry leading up to that point. I'm really looking forward to you listening to what she has to say. Oh, Megan, it's lovely to meet you. And it's, well, I've met you before, but It's lovely to get this chance to chat to you. So obviously Red Run burst onto the scene in 2020, your active streetwear brand, and has just gone from immediate success to more success. And obviously today we're sitting here and you've got your flagship store in Liverpool 1, you've got flannels, you're in 28 outlets within flannels, you've got a hugely successful online business. So being a Liverpool girl, we went to the same school, admittedly many decades difference, I'm sure. But I am particularly interested to chat to you because obviously the point of this podcast is to bring to life the stories of the people behind the businesses. So I'm just going to jump straight in. And I think when I was doing my research for this, I came across a quote that you'd given in Hello magazine, which said Red Run was founded by 3 women, all with different backgrounds, but with one common goal: to succeed in growing a successful fashion business. And I think it's fair to say you've done that and you're continuing to make that a huge success. So can I start with how on earth do you begin? I mean, we'll come into Red Run shortly, but can you explain to me how you sort of found your way into knowing that you wanted to go into fashion?
Yeah, so I think from an early age, I think it wasn't something that I instantly knew that I wanted to do. Obviously in school, you're so young when you have to decide like what career path that you want to take. And definitely in school, you know, I did struggle massively. I've got dyslexia. I was the kid who was always in bottom set. You know, and I was so confused at what my future would be. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't naturally academic at all. I had to very much try my hardest in anything that I did to even come up, you know, to pass an exam, you know. So yeah, it was a struggle for me. As a kid, I think you kind of, when you don't hit that bracket of academia where, you know, you kind of do get pushed aside, and I feel like I was pushed aside during school.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? School doesn't really, it's like a sausage machine that you've got to be good at X, Y, and Z. It doesn't really give opportunity for
Absolutely
people who
not.
are creative or
Exactly,
entrepreneurial.
Because for me, when I was younger, I mean, all I did is draw, paint.
Yeah.
That was what I loved to do, you know.
Yeah.
I love sports as well.
Yeah.
But they couldn't cater for that. It was kind of, yeah,
They
as you
didn't know
said.
what to do with you.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't know what to do with me. But yeah, and I think, yeah, I mean, it led me to, you know, I think during the, you know, the school days, I think, yeah, it was hard. Don't get me wrong. Listen, there was teachers there that supported me and believed in me, and I think those teachers are honestly the people from an early start that give me the fire that I've got now, because they seen something that a lot of teachers definitely didn't.
And did you see that in yourself, or did it take them seeing it in you first?
I think it took them to see it in me. I think I beat myself up a lot because I did struggle. I've got dyslexia, and, you know, a lot of people didn't understand, like, you know, the struggles that I come up against having dyslexia, and how hard it was for me to, like, you know, sit in a maths lesson, or things to go into my head in the right way. I'm a very visual person, and they just didn't cater for that. But no, there was definitely, you know, about 4 teachers that I still think about to this day that definitely contributed to the person that I've become today.
And how did that manifest itself? How did they?
Because I think they just seen something in me that I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
They seen a drive in me and a passion to go out and get what I wanted and to achieve something. And they definitely seen that in me, even though I didn't see it. And then them sitting me down and saying, you know, Megan, you can do this, but you've just got to decide what path you're going to take. And that kind of gave me the attitude to be like, do you know what? If these people are saying it to me, they're right. And it made me look at the other the other peers around me who probably didn't think I'd amount to anything. Just give me that attitude to think, do you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong in everything that I do. And I think, you know, from high school, I really did get that fire in my stomach where I just thought, you know what, I am going to do this, and or anything that I do, I'm going to give 110% and believe the fact that if I want to manifest something and I can achieve it, you can.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And then, so you had that fire in your belly, and you had that drive, and you were determined you were going to achieve, you know, you were going to achieve and you were going to succeed. But obviously you needed a sort of a way to channel that, didn't you? And how did it work when you left school then? At what point, what did you do when you left school?
I was still confused when I left school. I didn't get the GCSEs to stay on at sixth form. For me, that was like, I tried my hardest in my GCSEs. I revised, honestly, I genuinely did. And I didn't get the grades to go to sixth form. But I knew from there, you know what, I didn't get them. And that's not because I didn't try. It was because I just generally couldn't get them. And I got it in art, got it in PA, got it in textiles, but I didn't qualify for sixth form. But the head teacher at the time, big fan of his.
Johnson Field, love him.
I know. He was amazing. He was a massive influence
for
on
so
me.
Many.
Yeah.
For so many people.
He definitely was. He fought for the underdog.
Yeah.
And I was definitely that growing up. So he accepted me into sixth form. He then actually became my English teacher because he was like, you've got to pass English for your GCSE. He helped me pass my English GCSE. And then I didn't stay on. I did my first year, but I just needed to get that English under my belt. And that school, regimental, day-to-day kind of function, it just wasn't me.
No.
It wasn't me. I needed to explore. My mind was so beyond, that school.
The confines of like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just wasn't me. I was like a creative person, and I just needed to meet different people. I needed to be out there. I needed to explore. And so, that's what I went and did.
And then what did you do?
So I went to Liverpool Community College. I did fashion design. Again, I stuck out for a year. I left. Again, I think it was just because
Why did you leave?
I think the pressures of it. I still at this stage didn't feel good enough.
Oh, gosh.
There were so many kids around me that were amazing, and I looked at them and I was just like, I can't compete with them. I just think I lacked confidence within myself.
So what did you do then?
I left and went and worked in a nursing home.
Yeah.
Which just absolutely wasn't me.
Yeah.
I loved it because I loved looking after the old ones and listening to their old stories, and I enjoyed it because I am quite a caring person, and I enjoyed it, but I just knew that it was never for me.
Yeah.
And I think this one day I finished and I was working, like, I'd do a day shift all day, do a night shift. I was working every hour God send. But again, going back, you know, to the school days and getting that fire in my stomach and absolutely trying in everything that I do, I did in that nursing home, you know, even though I knew that career path wasn't for me. I'd have been an awful nurse, like I generally would have. Don't like bloods, like I'd have been awful.
But sometimes you need the experience of thinking this isn't for me to know what is for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think if anything, working for there gave me massive work ethic, because wow, is that industry tough?
Yeah.
You know, that gave me the work ethic that I have today for sure, because they work hard and I really worked to the bone.
Yeah.
So as you said, I think every, you know, experience that you have has a positive impact on, you know, where I am now and where I am today, definitely.
So at the point you were working in the nursing home then, did you think, actually, I think I will revisit my fashion studies?
Yeah, because I think one day I just sat down and I was just like, what am I doing? You know, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with this deep down. I know this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I started looking at college courses, and my partner, she was a massive influence on that. She was like, Megan, I know that this isn't what you should be doing. You know, you're creative. You need to be in that that industry. So I started applying for art foundations. So I went to Hubert College.
Oh yeah.
Again, the teacher was amazing. And I loved that course, and I did really well on it. And then from there I went to...
So was that art? So that was art foundation. So you covered fashion in that as well, did you?
Yeah. So there was another teacher, and she specialised in fashion.
Yeah.
But I didn't learn a massive amount of fashion there. It was more the arts and creativity, and I think it allowed me just to deep dive back into being creative again. Yeah. Obviously, I've been working in the nursing home for a long time, and it just gave me that. It just opened that door for my brain to start working in that way again.
And is it that point, like, you thought, this is where I belong? You know, like with school, it's like, oh God, it's jarring. This, I don't belong here.
Yeah, all the people that were on my course, that we were so like-minded. We all come from different backgrounds. You know, it was just a pot of creativity, and we all fed off each other, and it was amazing. And I think that was definitely a pinnacle moment for me. I definitely needed to do that.
It's like when you find your tribe, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like you go to school and you think, oh, well, you'll make friends and that. And you know, I'm sure you made friends. Most people make friends. But it's something bigger than that, isn't it? When you get into the bigger, wider world, and it can take a while, but you find where you're comfortable and where you're with like-minded people. And then you just thrive. And people who are maybe pushed into things that don't naturally sit with them, I think that just must be really difficult.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my mind's always been way above a small city.
Yeah.
To tell the truth, my mind's always been very broad, very open, very curious. And I think being with people who are like-minded, artistic, and were curious in the same ways, it definitely helped me thrive and made me realise how much that I do love the arts and how much I wanted to proceed on that career path.
So fast forward in your studies, you ended up going to college at UCLan, didn't you?
Yeah.
And studying fashion marketing. Is it fashion marketing?
No, fashion design.
Fashion design.
Yeah, fashion design for 4 years.
Oh my goodness. And then tell us about London Fashion Week.
Yeah, so
and what happened after that?
I know, it's a whirlwind. So I went to university in UCLan. Best lecturers ever. I've still really good friends with my lecturers now. I was laughing because I've got an intern at the moment who's actually from that university.
Oh, wow.
She was like, my lecturer's told me loads about you. And I was like,
wow.
oh, God. Weren't the most well-behaved. I think I just used to go and have a ball there. But yeah, I went to uni for 4 years, did fashion design. I preferred the menswear route.
Yeah.
So at the end of our fourth year, the end aim was you wrote a dissertation. Obviously, you had to have a portfolio, and then you had to design a 16-piece collection, which I chose to do menswear. And the end goal of the uni was to be picked, to be chosen to go to Graduate Fashion Week. I think 5 or 6 students per university across the UK got chosen. And luckily, I was one of the ones that got chosen to go to Graduate Fashion Week, which was an amazing experience. I've never been to London in my life. So for me to go there, it was like, wow, this is where I want to be, basically. And then from there, that was a competition, and I became one of the top 20 finalists in Graduate Fashion Week, which was obviously an amazing achievement. And I never imagined that would happen. I was just so happy to have been there. And then I think my career started from that day on. At the time, there was this major streetwear brand called KTZ. They were like one of the biggest shows in London Fashion Week next to Burberry. They were international, they were huge, massive in Japan and China, Italy, all over. I actually got headhunted by them during Fashion Week. Oh my God. So I was like, I remember my friend ran over to me, he was like, Megan, they've left the number and all that. And I was like, no, like it was insane. Like, it was just one of them things. It was like, I had to pinch myself. It was amazing.
So you went to work for them?
Yeah, I got home and I was like, Mum, these have headhunted me from London. I was like, how are you going to live in London? I was like, I don't know. I had no money from very working class backgrounds. Like, I don't know. But my nan gave me £1,000. I packed a backpack and moved.
Oh my God.
Didn't know a soul. It was insane.
Oh my God. So you obviously went on then to work for a number of like prestigious fashion brands. And leading up to setting up Red Run then, what were you doing?
So I was working for Vivienne Westwood.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favourite companies that I've worked for. Their motto is always chaos, and it really was chaos. Everyone thinks, like,
at least they're owning it.
No, exactly. People think, wow, it must be amazing, like working for such a big company. I'm like, no, it's a tiny family.
Yeah.
And it's just batty. But yeah, I was working for Westwood in London. I loved it. So yeah, I just started.
And you were designing for them?
I was wholesale for the menswear distribution.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a different career path to design, but it was a massive, amazing experience to go into wholesale, because it opened my eyes as a designer, how to design commercially sellable product, which will,
the business of fashion.
Basically. Yeah. When you're a kid and you think of fashion, you think of runways, avant-garde, you think of, but in reality, it all comes down to money, and it comes down to commercialized product, which is actually going to sell from a consumer perspective.
Yeah.
And also obviously getting to know retailers and just the whole business side of distribution.
Yeah.
So I did that for the menswear. And
you obviously set this up with Abby and Joanna, and do you want to tell us a bit about their different backgrounds and how? I'm interested to know what was there a glass of wine or a coffee or a time when you went, do you know what? Why don't we open this business? Because we all we'll all pull together and nail it.
Do you know what it was? I had the idea. I always knew in the long term, I thought, do you know what? I will open my own brands, but I knew I couldn't do it straight out of university.
Yeah.
Brands fail within the first 3 years or they succeed. And I think for me, listen, I know, I'm my own worst critic, but I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I never could have done it alone.
Yeah.
So, and I needed to go out and get experience. I went out into the industry and I worked for 10 years in the industry, and I gained so much, wealth of experience where I then gained the confidence to think, you know what, I've met enough people, I've watched this, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think Red Run come about. I was working for a brand in New York and I was heading up. They were doing a collaboration with Reebok. So I was heading up basically the distribution for that collaboration. So I was back and forth to Boston with Reebok and it was just amazing there.
Yeah.
Like I remember going into their archives, you know, 80s and 90s retro, like Reebok. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And for me, that's where Red Run come in. And I was like, I'd love to open my own brand, which had this like, you know, really retro, colourful feel to it. And then my mind just started going then. And I think it was during lockdown, you know, obviously working with Westwood, I didn't have a minute to myself anyway. You know, I was always mad busy there. But I think during lockdown, it gave me that time to be able to put things into perspective and really start thinking about it.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I was thinking to myself when I went home and I was looking at people, how they were dressing. It was like very casual. It was, you know, people wearing sportswear, but you know, was it good quality? Maybe not. Was it affordable? And I was just assessing all of the brands around me and trying to envision how I would want to launch a brand and what values I would want to insert into that business. But again, going back to the fact that I definitely couldn't do it alone. So, you know, I've got the creative mind. I've got, you know, great contacts in the wholesale industry. I know commerciality. You know, I know business when it comes to fashion, but there's a lot of things that I really don't know. And that's when Abby was my number one choice to come into the business, because she's a powerhouse in what she does. And I got her involved. You know, I asked her, got her involved. I kind of pitched it to her.
Yeah.
And, you know, she thought it was a great idea.
And what's her skill set then?
Yeah, so she's actually an IT director full time. She's not with Red Run full time.
Yeah.
She's the lucky one that works 7 days a week. So she come into play with the digital, the online, the building of the website. She built everything from scratch, and also finance. She's great at finance as well. Yeah. So she was definitely a cog that the machine needed. Yeah. And then obviously Joanna, our business partner as well. Joanna has always been in manufacturing clothing. So the three of us together, it was kind of a no-brainer to bring us together. And obviously with Joanna already having these established contacts in Portugal, because she had really good, you know, friendships with them, they allowed us to invest really small quantities, which really helped us grow the business. A lot of these factories want you to invest in silly amounts of units to start a business, and you just fail.
The barriers,
in the first 12 months.
That's what I'm fascinated about. Like, you know, like you started Red Run in 2020, which was basically the start of the pandemic, when fashion was going through the floor because there was no retailers open.
Yeah,
like nobody was going out buying the clothes that they normally would buy. And I think, oh my God, who is either brave enough or mad enough?
Probably mad enough, actually.
To open a new startup fashion brand in a pandemic. So was that already, how were you already committed and in it by the time the pandemic hit? Or was this sort of still evolving during that time?
No, I think we were already in it, but very early stages, designing, you know, what would we have on our website, logo, brand name, you know, the ethics that we wanted behind the business. But yeah, I think it's a bit.
And tell me a bit about that. So what did you want? What, you know, obviously every brand's based on, well, all the successful brands are based on the ethics that it stands on and what they really want to achieve. And what did you set out to achieve?
So I think for us, obviously, as I said, you know, I had time to kind of assess the market around me. I wanted to create a brand which was amazing quality, yet affordable, own identity with the bright colours and everything, and also the USP for the fact that it was all our collections were interchangeable.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want our woman consumer to have to think hard about what she's waking up to wear that day. It was kind of Red Run, we're going to just do that for you from head to toe. And I think we've definitely achieved that. But yeah, I think for me, quality plays a massive key. I think, there's so many competitors out there who, we're all doing fantastic. But for me, the quality of the product was always super important, even though Abby, from a finance perspective, may always disagree with the fabric choice that I always choose, or, but yeah, that played a big part in it.
And when you started initially, you were by women for women, and obviously, excitingly, this year you've started a whole men's range, haven't you? Founders Club.
I couldn't wait to do menswear for me.
Back to where you started.
Honestly, I've always loved menswear, even from an early age. I was always the tomboy. Growing up, and I love menswear clothing. To be honest, when I go shopping, I don't genderize clothes. Whether I find myself on the menswear floor or the women's wear floor, if I like something, I'm buying it and I'm wearing it. And I've always been like that. But menswear for me is super exciting. I think, it was the time to launch menswear. I think the market at the moment is needing a little change and a little something different. And I feel like that's what Red Run is going to bring.
And tell us about your whole connection around the Founders Club and why it was really important around your I know you're doing a lot within the mental health space, within to support a better well-being, and for men, well, for everybody, but men in particular. And I know that was a big drive for you in launching the Founders Club.
Yeah, so Founders Club was a collection that I'd been wanting to do. And obviously the connection with Mental Health UK was super important to us as a business and my family as well. During the early stages of starting Red Run, we lost my dad to his mental health battle. My dad had bipolar and had suffered from an early age, from when I can remember. And yeah, I just kind of, without Red Run, I always think, God, that kind of kept my mind focused and keep going. I don't know, what I would have done, really, where my mind would have been if I didn't have a driver such as Red Run to kind of keep my mind occupied and keep going, because it was such a hard time for us all and the family. It was a devastating loss. We were very close. And I think as the brand succeeded, I think that's something that's always given me a drive as well. My dad was my biggest fan. Yeah. He really was. He really was. So I think he's played a massive driver over these years.
And you probably feel he's so much part of it, because he's so
100%.
Obviously, he's always with you.
Yeah, always with me. And I know that he'd be massively proud, and that kind of keeps me going, the thought of that as well. He always seemed big for his girls, and he always wants us to achieve, what we set out to do, and we all definitely have. And so the idea of partnering with Mental Health UK, it just felt right. I think now that Red Run's got the platform that we have, I think it's super important to be talking about these things. I think I did a story behind it, and that was the first time I've ever opened up about my dad. Not that I was ever, had any embarrassment towards it at all. Absolutely not. It was just never spoken about it. I do speak to people about it, but I think it was time to talk about it. And it was amazing the amount of messages that I got that were saying, oh my God, I needed to hear that, because I've been through something similar, and or my parents took their own life, and it's just good to hear people and normalise it, because it happens so much, and it's almost a taboo, and it shouldn't be. It should be spoken about. And I think for us, it was the ideal charity to partner with. So,
and you're doing amazing things with them. Yeah. So going forward then with your women's range, and now obviously your women's core ranges and your men's range, what's next?
Yeah. So there's a lot to come for Red Run in the new year. We've got a lot of exciting things to come. I can't really talk too much about it now because we haven't made the announcement, but there's something huge coming for Red Run.
Oh my God.
I know, I want to say it, but I can't.
Come back in January or whenever you can talk about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're all excited about it, and it's just now putting in the hard work to ensure that we succeed
and you
in
will,
our next step.
Because you're all grafters, and I can imagine when you set your mind to something, you just make it happen.
Absolutely.
And it's so exciting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
It's scary as well.
You.
I think there's leaps and jumps that we always take. Like when we opened a store in the Albert Dock, you shouldn't open a store after 6 months. We were like, just do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's take the chance. I think it's about taking a chance. If you fail, you fail.
Yeah.
You take that on board. You ensure you don't fail the next step. I think you've just got to take everything within your stride.
And learn from it as well. Not fear of failure is like the biggest barrier to success, isn't it?
Well, it is, because if you're scared of failing, you're not going to strive forward. And I think that's where you've got to kind of take the pressure off yourself. If you believe in something, go and do it.
Yeah.
If it fails, so what?
Yeah.
It's just something else that's under your belt.
Yeah.
You know not to do that next time.
Yeah.
So everything it's all a learning curve, and you just got to keep going with it.
When I talk to business owners, it's like they learn the most from the things that have gone wrong as opposed to the things that have gone well.
No, absolutely.
So you need them failures, don't you, to make you
100%.
successful.
And even going back, like when I was working in the industry, like I've worked for some amazing people, and I've worked for some not so amazing people.
Yeah.
All that contributed to the business owner that I am today.
Yeah.
Like I learned who I wouldn't want to be,
Yeah.
who I wouldn't want to,
Yes.
how I wouldn't want to be a bit, how they ran their business, and I didn't agree with it, or they weren't very great people or whatever. And that just learnt me how not to be that person and be the business owner that I am today. So, yeah.
And so can I ask you, I always finish with asking my guests, if you could give a 16-year-old in a similar position that you were in when you were that age advice, what would you say to them?
I'd say anything is achievable. I would say social media is very false, and try not allow that to dim your mind or your thoughts or your vision of where you want to be, because it's all a fake facade. I think looking at, a young person looking at me as 16, I'm dyslexic. I was in bottom sets, and I've achieved what I've achieved. Anybody can achieve anything, but you've just got to work for it. You've just got to have that fire in your stomach. If you're not the most, academic person, don't listen to anybody. If you really set out to do what you want to do, you can do it. But it does come with hard work and dedication. And you've got to work at it. Nothing comes to you on a plate.
No.
You've got to fight for it.
Oh, thank you. That's like the perfect place to finish. Megan, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Come back when you can talk about your big news.
Absolutely, I will. You'll be the first.
Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of In Conversation with Seriously Motivated Entrepreneurs. If you've liked what you've heard today, can you please rate, review and subscribe to this podcast, as it'll help other business owners to find it, and it may just be the inspiration and motivation they need at this moment in time. Thanks ever so much.